Good morning, scholars. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. Scholars, this week in our language arts, we've been focusing on our G sound. We also are going to be working on dialogue a little bit more today. Remember, dialogue are the conversations or the words that our characters speak to each other. Let's start with our G sound. This week, we've been focusing on we've been focusing on the soft G sound that says J. And we know that when the letter G starts a word and it is followed by the vowel I, it will say J. Words like giraffe, giant, and sometimes we'll find it in the middle of the word, like the word magic. We also know that when the letter G has an E after it, it will also say that soft G sound, where it's like gel, gem, genie, or germs. The last one that we've been working on here is when the G starts the word and it's followed by a Y. We have looked at words like gypsy or gym. We could think of words like gymnasium, gymnastics. Those start with a G-Y. And scholars, we've also been thinking about how when we see a G at the end of a word, we're going to see this spelling pattern, a G-E at the end, and it makes a soft G sound. We have words like huge or damage or sponge. We also practice words like cage, barge, and change. Those all end with a G-E. We also have words that end with a D-G-E, but they still say J. Words like badger have it in the middle of the word. We have words that end with a D-G-E, like fridge or dodge or badge or bridge, and those all end with a D-G-E. Now, scholars, there are those words that don't make a J sound, but they have a G in it. They have a hard G. When we think of the letter G, we usually think of the sound it makes, G, that hard G. Those words will start with a G-A. Words like gas or gallop. They could also start with a G-O. Words like gorilla or goat or goggles start with a G-O, and they say G. They could also start with a G-U. Words like guitar or guess start with a G-U. Now, scholars, there's one more G starting spelling pattern that I want to talk with you about. When there's a consonant after the letter G and it starts a word, we will have consonant blends. So that letter G will say G. This is not as common, but sometimes we'll see G-H, like in the word ghost. It will make a hard G, G. We use this one quite a bit. The consonant blend G-R, grin, green, grass, grapes, and we hear the hard G, G, when we have a GR. Here's another consonant blend that starts with a G that we use often, GL. Words like glasses or gloves make a G, a hard G sound. All right, scholars, so remember, when G has a consonant after it, it's gonna make a hard G sound, G. If it has a U or an O or an A after it, it makes the hard sound G. But if it's at the end of a word, it makes the soft G sound, J, kind of like a J. J. If it's at the beginning of the word with the vowels Y, E, or I, it'll make the soft G sound, J. Scholars, this week we've also been working on dialogue. Remember that dialogue are the words that someone speaks. So in a story, sometimes we use these text bubbles. We might say, hello, how are you? Those are the words Miss Moseley just spoke. I have loved seeing your very own Piggy and Gerald stories. They have been awesome. And I've shared those on our blogs if you want to see other people's stories. Today, we're going to have a little more practice with the comic strip, thinking about different conversations people might have. You're going to see this comic strip today. And this year, you're going to take a look at the people in the comic strip and you're going to think, what might they be saying? Now, Miss Moseley filled out this one, and it might be tough for you to think about the words, but this is something that takes a little bit of time. When we look at characters, we think about what they might be feeling. So let's take a look at the first box here. We see here a girl is coming to see a boy, and look at, he has his head down and he's covering his face. So we want to think, what might they be thinking? Then we look to the next screen and we see that she looks a little bit sad or sorry, and he looks a little bit upset. What's happening in the next screen? Then we're going to go down to the bottom. Uh-oh, now she looks a little upset and he looks a little worried. They look like they're thinking in the next one. And then what happens lastly? So scholars, you're going to create your own dialogue. What are these people saying to each other? And then you can hit that microphone to record the conversation. I love the conversations that you guys have already recorded for Piggy and Gerald and the voices that you did for that. So you're going to think, what would these characters sound like? You can click on your example to see Miss Moseley, the example that Miss Moseley made for these characters. But I can't wait to see what you come up with. So remember, the names that I chose and the situations that I chose don't have to be the ones that you choose. You're going to choose your own conversation that these characters are having. Think about your own conversations with friends. How have those gone? And when you think about conversations, remember they're the words that people speak to each other. So that's what we'll be focusing on today with dialogue. Have a great day of learning.